What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Love and Rights podcast with your host, Aunt Ma.
I'm your other host, Christina.
And if you guys are new to this podcast, make sure to subscribe. We're on all podcast platforms, even on YouTube. So we're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Google, TikTok, and Instagram. And if you guys haven't given us a rating on Spotify yet, please go ahead and do that right now. And then come back on this and listen to the full episode because this is going to be quite interesting, okay? I want to talk about what it's like in the Asian culture when you have kids, okay? And what I mean by that is now being the age that we are, we have a lot of friends with kids, right? And we see how everything's going down between like how our life is, how our friends' lives are, and how the grandparents are involved. You know, we have a lot of friends that say, when I have a kid, my parents are going to retire and they're going to move in with us. They're going to take care of the baby. You know, I see other friends where it does happen, right?
Yeah,
like
a lot of friends actually.
Yeah, the dad moves in with our friends and they're cooking lunch, dinner, full-on gourmet meals every single day, you know? And, you know, for you, when you see these things, do you think that's a blessing for your friends, or is that like too much?
I would say it's a blessing because you know how sometimes they say that it takes a whole village, right, to help raise kids and stuff. And I feel like that really applies in life. And I feel like when we were growing up, that's kind of how our lives were too, right?
Yeah.
So just seeing how things are now, it's very different. And with the friends who have parents that retire, I think that also goes into, people having kids at an older age too. So like they're lucky to have parents that are at that retirement age to be able to like help them out.
I kind of get both answers. So I've asked a friend before and I asked her, I was like, do you like that your father-in-law lives there and he's cooking for you every day? And she's like, sometimes, you know.
So I was going to say something about that too, because is it usually the in-laws that have an issue with it? Because, right? Because if it's not your parents that are living in that house with you, you're just like, this isn't that comfortable, or I feel like I'm being smothered. But if it's like your own parents, I feel like you're more accepting and more open because you're used to your own parents and like living with them.
I think it's a little bit of both. If your parents moved in with us, I would probably be like, oh man, this is too much.
Yeah.
Right? And then if my mom moved in with us and she was cooking every day, I will like it to a certain extent.
Right.
There's times where I'm like, damn, I just kind of want to eat what I want to eat. You know what I mean? Or like, I want to do what I want to do. So sometimes they kind of overtake your life.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really does depend on the situation. But I guess it's kind of, it's a tricky situation because when you're raising your own kids and you're experiencing it, you want to do things a certain way. But then when you have your parents that are there that have like an older, old-fashioned mentality, they're like, oh, you should make sure that they do this, or, they're sneezing, make sure to put on a jacket. But in your head, you're like, oh, but it's like really hot right now. Like, I don't want to put a jacket on them. Yeah. So it can be overbearing.
So did you think that your parents would help out our kids?
Yes.
Like before even being pregnant, did you think that they would always be involved?
I think so because like I said, when we were growing up, we were always hanging out with our cousins. And when we would get together, our parents would get together with the other uncles and aunties and they'll all have fun with each other, sit down at a table, have a conversation and just play games, do whatever, right? And then for the kids, we pretty much took care of ourselves.
Right.
So it's like them just bringing us together and then us being with other cousins and playing. Like we were in this huge family dynamic.
Yeah.
So just that's what I expected our kids' childhood to be when they're growing up. But when we're living close to our parents in California, I was like, okay, well, my parents really want us to have kids. They've been asking like when we're going to give them grandchildren, right?
Right.
So I was like, okay, they're probably going to want to see them all the time. They're going to want to come over. They're going to want us to come over.
That's what you would think, right?
Yeah.
And so what happened?
I think they wanted us to have kids. They wanted to be able to see them. But I was surprised because they actually didn't want to see them as much as I thought they would have.
Right.
Or I thought that they would be excited if I'm like, hey, we're going to come over, or can you help watch the kids a little bit? And I think it was in the beginning, the first few months, where I was like, oh, the baby's so small and precious. They're going to want to spend time and see them all the time, right?
Right.
But to them, they're like, I don't know. The babies are really sensitive. All they do is cry. it's also kind of boring.
They started
What?
complaining.
Yeah.
Our parents are. Oh my god! So I thought your parents would have helped out from the day one Leia was
Yeah.
born. Right? They were so happy. Oh, they're finally having kids. She's pregnant.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it was like chirp chirp. Where are they? Like,
Yeah.
how come the grandparents aren't helping? Right? So it's like it was weird that they pressured you to have kids. For my parents, they never asked me, when are you gonna have kids? They never said when.
Okay.
Yeah. And now thinking about it, that's a red flag. Like, if they don't ask you when you're gonna have kids, that means they don't really care about really, like, I guess at the time, to be there and help and things like that. But my parents always said, some point in your life when you do have kids. They never say, when are you having kids?
So they just kind of generalized it and didn't put any pressure on you to have kids.
They just knew I was
They're
gonna
so
have
smart.
someday. Yeah. So
even when we were dating and they knew how serious we were and then we got married, like, they never asked you, like, so when are you gonna have kids?
Nope. We were married for 5 years and they never asked, when are you gonna have kids? Never.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm like, has your mom ever asked about it while we were married? But I can't remember.
No, not really.
Yeah.
They just said, when you do.
Oh.
Like, when you do, you're gonna have this or that or whatever. But one time I asked my mom, I was like, hey, are you going to retire? When we have a kid, are you going to help out? And she's like, no. And I'm like, what? Why? I thought you would want to be with, like, my brothers don't have kids.
Right.
So I would be the first one, and I'm the youngest child to have a kid in the family. I would think they would be so excited to be grandparents and be there with their baby.
Right. But I think that kind of goes back to, people having kids at an older age now. Because back then when our parents had kids, they were still very young. They were having kids in their early 20s.
I think this is what it is.
Yeah.
So when my parents had kids in their, like, early to mid 20s, right, they're on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They got to take care of the kids themselves. They're also trying to start new businesses and try to get their lives, started. And so my mom was saying, no, I want you to take care of the kids because I want you to go through what I went through, right? All the struggles of being a parent and things like that.
It's like tough love. They don't want you to have it easy.
Yeah, so, when she said that, I was like, what the fuck? Like, damn, dude. Like, I thought you would actually help, babysit sometimes, change some diapers, sleep with the kid and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think because what they don't know is that the struggles they had was because they're in their early 20s. Right. And so, but we were in, like, our 30s when we had kids, mid 30s. And so I don't know. I don't think they took those two timelines to figure out, like, why should we struggle in our mid 30s, But it's not even that. Like, I'm not saying, I don't want to make it sound like we're not grateful for our grandparents, that our grandparents should help. It's not that. I just thought that when I see all my other friends having kids, that our parents would be more involved, like what we see.
Yeah, and that's how
all.
I felt in the beginning, because I was like, oh, how come they're just not, they don't want to see the kids as much? But I get it too, because they are older. Like, even for me, like, being in my 30s, right? I'm already tired all the time, and your parents are extremely busy. They're still working. They're still doing a lot of community work. So, being at a retirement age, they're still doing so much.
Yeah.
And
I thought my mom would give it up for the grandkid.
I don't think so, because I can tell that she's a person that has to stay busy, and the same with your dad also. Like, they thrive on being out and doing things and socializing, being at events and talking to other adults. But being around the kids, it can be stressful for them. And then their energy levels are so crazy. So for them, it's like a lot of sighs that you'll hear, right? Because it's just so frustrating for them. And I understand. They're at an age where you can tell them something, you'll lecture them, you're constantly trying to teach them something, but they're just so noisy and so playful.
We didn't know any of this experience that we're talking about was actually going to happen until, after the baby came out, right?
Yeah.
So, like, when Leia was born, when Enzo was born, both of our parents came to the hospital right when the kid was born, and they hugged the kid, and they held the baby and all that stuff,
right?
And they loved it, right? So we felt the love in the hospital room. And then when we get back home with the infant, it's like, wait, where's our parents now? Like, hey, do you want to come see the baby? And they're like, no, not yet. And I'm just like, right there, I kind of felt, I don't know if I felt disappointment or sad, like, oh, how come my parents don't want to see the baby?
I think I was more shocked, if anything, but just maybe thinking back about it, I try to be more understanding about stuff. And I feel like because at that age, they're still very sensitive. They're very fresh. All they do is like eat, sleep, and poop, right? So if the parents came over, like I would be breastfeeding for a while, right? And then putting them to bed. And
So
or
it's
if they
boring.
wake up, then they have to like change their diaper. So yeah, maybe it is boring for them. They'll see the baby for a little bit and then the baby's like sleeping the rest of the time. And then even at that time too, I remember asking my mom about it because I was pretty sad about it because I thought they would be there all the time. And they're basically saying that because the baby is just so small, they don't want to do anything to like.
They were scared.
They were very scared.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like, it's they're just so scared to hold an infant. Your dad didn't want to touch an infant at all.
Yeah.
He was like, nope, let's wait a couple months, right?
Yeah, or if they're sick too, or if they're feeling like sinuses or whatever, the smallest little hint of a cold, right? They just want to stay away because they don't want to get the baby sick. So I think it's because of how fragile that they are. But also my mom just straight up told me, she was just like, it's boring. The baby's just going to sleep and cry and that's it.
I think when it was the infant phase, my mom was probably the most involved. She came like maybe once a week.
Yes.
And she would hold Leia while in her arms and Leia would fall asleep, right?
Yeah.
And she loved that. My dad would just be sitting on the couch like on his phone or something.
I know.
Right?
I mean, he
like
still
that.
does that now.
Yeah.
So.
But, I think once the baby became like 3 months old, that's when my parents got a little more involved.
Yeah. Oh, same with my parents too. And they said the same thing. They're like, wait until the baby's a little bit older and then you can start dropping them off and we'll like watch them more and they won't be as needy and they can do more for themselves.
Your parents, we couldn't drop off the kids to your parents' house until they were like, I don't know, almost 1 year old.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
For my parents, I was bringing Leia to work. Like, so once we hit 3 months, right, and Leia got her shots and stuff, and I'm like, okay, it's safer to go out now. I started bringing her to work, right?
Yeah, because I had to go back to work.
Yeah, so I had
That was so
meetings
sad.
a couple times a week, like 3 times a week. I was filming stuff, and I had to go to an office, and I would ask my dad, like, hey, can you watch the baby for like 4 hours?
Yeah.
Once
a week.
a week. And he did it. So from like 3 months to, I don't know, almost a year old.
Yeah.
My dad would take care of Leia once a week.
Yep.
But I would like, I had to do everything I could to make it convenient for my dad, right? So I got to bring the baby to his house. I got to bring a pack and play. I got to make sure she's fed, changed, and then rocked to sleep and put her in the playpen. And then be like, okay, now I can go to work. So basically he's just watching her sleep. And he's there for when she wakes up to change her diaper and then hold her. And that's pretty much it. Like, he doesn't have to do anything else, So I made it really easy for him. But it was just the fact that, like, I had to bring everything over to my dad's house. He could have came over and, like,
True.
She's comfortable. She could, crawl around. Well,
I
she
just
can't
have
crawl
everything
that time,
like
but
ready there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess that's kind of trying to find a balance between wanting to have someone help watch your kids and also making it convenient for them, right? Because they're kind of doing you a favor.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is, like, if you're gonna have kids, and when I talk to other friends about it, I'm like, what have your parents said about taking care of the kids, like, after they're here, right?
Yeah.
And are they pressuring you to have kids? You got to make sure you talk about these things because we were kind of blindsided. But yeah.
So now if I brought Leia over to my dad's house, he can no longer take care of the kids, right? He's too old, or he doesn't know what to do and stuff. And so, a lot of you parents out there, you're thinking, I'm going to wait till my kid is a little bit older and then let my grandparents or my parents take care of the kids. Well, if they're not capable of it, it's actually easier for them when the kid is a baby.
when they're not as
because
mobile.
yeah, because they don't have to do anything but just watch them in a playpen.
Yeah.
Or just give the baby milk and change the diaper. That's it. But as they get older, now you gotta trust your dad to be like, they gotta eat food, right? And then it's like they're giving them all kinds of food that you don't want them to eat, or like, if they're starting fresh with little bits and pieces of chopped food, your parents would be like giving them big pieces of things, and they don't know what to do.
And I think that is also one of the key reasons why our parents don't want to watch the kids as much anymore, because the way that parenting is now compared to what it used to be is completely different.
It's so strict now.
And that's what I hear about this dynamic, like with all new parents now. It's just the fact that we're learning so much about how to take care of kids, what's good for them, what's bad for them, how we should be sleep training them, and all these things, right? It's so strict. We want them on a schedule.
Do you think it's the parents being strict, or is it the information is overload to where we have to follow all these things we see on Google?
Both.
Right? Like
Both.
We've learned so much of what not to do and what to do. And then we try to relay those things to our parents. And they're like, whoa, when I was a parent, I would just leave you in front of the TV and that's it.
Yeah, my mom was like, oh, like I was just sewing at home and I couldn't watch you guys. Like I didn't spend time with you. You would basically be laying on the couch and I would have your bottle in your mouth and a blanket plopped under just for you to feed yourself, because I couldn't do that for you, you know? So it was completely different. And, these are conversations I've had with my parents, and they would just say, the way that they're drinking milk or the way that they're eating, it's very stressful, right? And it was stressful for us. So for them, they're like, back then we took care of you the way that we could, the best that we could. We couldn't sit there with you all the time or watch you as much as you guys do that with the kids now.
What I don't understand though is that it's not that hard, right? So we're like, hey, every 2 hours you gotta feed the baby and just give the baby like 4 ounces of milk. So here's a measuring cup, warm it up, and just do the 4 ounces, because if you do too much, they're gonna puke it up or whatnot and things like that. And so they would describe it as like, when they put us on the couch when we were little, and they would just fill up whatever amount, you drink whatever amount, whatever's left over is left over, and things like that, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. We just knew what the kids needed or wanted.
Well, that's how it is though, because you being the parents, you know exactly what your kids need, but then
how come they didn't? Or maybe they're not describing it, or they don't remember it.
It's not. Yeah, I think it's too much for them, because they're already like, okay, I'm gonna watch the kids, but you want me to have this strict schedule in my mind? Like it's kind of hard to follow.
I used to write it out though.
I
wrote out a piece of paper. 10 a.m. This is what you do. 11 a.m. do this. 12. Like it's a very like easy schedule.
So I think with that,
and they don't even want to read it.
It's too much for our parents, because to them, they're like, oh, we already did our time with you guys. We took care of you guys and watched you grow up, because parenting never stops, right? Even as adults, they still worry about you. So they're like, now, okay, I feel like a prisoner because I have to follow this strict schedule. Like, am I in school right now to take care of the kids? Like, I just want to enjoy my time with them.
I thought I was making it easier for them by giving them the schedule so they don't miss out and stress out.
Yeah, I understood why you did that. And I think we may have traumatized our parents with Leia's situation specifically, because don't forget, we had a hard time with feeding her because she had her allergies to milk. Like we had feeding issues. She was like failure to thrive at one point,
So now I remember why I created the schedules, because she had to eat because she was not getting enough weight. Right. And so now putting that stress on our parents, where it's like, hey, she has to drink the milk, okay? Like you can't miss a feeding.
Exactly. It wasn't here, just give it to her. If she takes it, great. It was, please give it to her. If she doesn't want it, keep trying.
Right. Like squeeze the milk into her mouth. Force it in there.
That was really bad.
So
that was hard.
It was hard. So I kind of get why our parents were like, oh man, forget it. Let these guys handle it.
And 100 times I've heard them say, we didn't have to deal with this with you guys growing up. I don't understand why it's so hard, And I'm like, I have no idea.
It's different because, nowadays we're going to all kinds of doctors, right? You get your pediatrician. Your pediatrician says, oh, your baby's like under the 3 percentile.
Yeah.
Now we got to send you to a GI and then also send you to a nutritionist at
And now you
Children's
have to do
Hospital.
occupational therapy,
Right.
everything. We went through all of that with her.
And so now they're, the doctors force us to go to the craziest hospital in LA for kids and things
Yeah.
like that, right? So it's very scary. But then back then, when we were babies, it's like we're going to this Chinese doctor
Right.
who's like, well, all right. Like he just checks to make sure you're physically okay.
Yeah,
and that's it.
just the vitals and everything, your levels of things.
Yeah.
But also, you would see herbalists. A lot of the ways that we would heal was through natural remedies, not so much of like medication, going to see a specialist. Because I don't even know if that was really a known thing before back in our time.
Did you have any special things you did when you were a kid? And like they wouldn't take you to the doctor. So like if our kid complains about a stomach ache for a long time, we're like, oh crap, should we take her to the doctor? Should we take her to not the ER, what's the other one called?
Urgent care.
Urgent care.
Yeah.
So we try to go see the specialist because her stomach is all messed up, right?
Yeah, so that's what we do now.
That's what we do now, right?
Yeah.
But I remember when I was a kid, my parents would be like, all right, I'm gonna boil you an egg.
Yes.
I'm gonna put a quarter in an egg, and then I'm gonna wrap it in a towel, and you're gonna rub this egg all over your belly.
Get whatever is in there that's toxic out, and it's going to go into the egg.
Right, yeah, and then when you pull out that quarter, you're like, if it turns a certain color, that means now you're better.
Yeah, like you had too much bad air or cold air or hot air.
It was so weird, right?
Yeah, and or if like we had a stomach ache, they would have this like little medicine jar, right, with like these little black medicine balls. And you would just have to take the whole thing and stuff.
Yeah, it's like 30 little balls.
Yeah, and they tasted so nasty. Or they would always use like Tiger Balm and like those oils, like if you have headaches or kind of aches, that medicine that your dad makes, it's like that black medicine.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called. And it's in a glass bottle, a red cap. If you're Asian, I think you guys know this. I don't know if other cultures use this too.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
But for bruising, like when you're hurting, that black oil, your dad uses it on you still, like when you hurt your shoulder.
Oh, he makes that.
Yeah, he makes that. I didn't know you could do that. I used to just buy it at the store all the time.
Yeah, it's different, but that medicine you're talking about was like those 30 little balls.
Yeah, and
they call it I think they call it Nun-Q.
Oh,
is what it was called. They had the hard ones and they had the soft ones, and it smelled like poop.
Oh yeah.
I used to call it Basie, which is like boogers.
Yep.
So I'd be like, let me have my booger medicine.
That's so gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
or if I was feeling sick, my mom would take me to see an herbalist, and I don't know if it was like a specific kind of sickness, but then they would get this incense. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but they roll up this thing. It kind of looks like a joint a little bit, and then they light it up, and then they would put it on the bottom of my foot and burn it with that.
It's
never
like
an herb and incense. Yeah, and then they just keep burning the bottom of your foot to try to get it out of you.
Your parents are crazy.
Yeah,
man.
I know.
That's some like village shit.
Yeah, we would never go to urgent care or the ER unless it was like a real emergency, but everything else was just a natural remedy.
They're like, we don't got to pay $50 to go to urgent care.
They wouldn't,
We're going to burn this joint on your foot like we did back in the villages.
I mean, they said it helped, so who knows?
Well, yeah, because now my foot hurts and nothing else hurts. That's why.
I have no idea. But yeah.
Damn. So, do you think what we went through where our parents didn't really offer to help is normal, or is it the people who have parents there every day is more normal?
Well, I feel like that's how it used to be before. And you know what? What they really say about parents who don't really want to watch the grandparents. I mean, what?
What? What'd you say?
Know what they say about grandparents not wanting to watch their grandchildren? It's that maybe in their lifetime while they were growing up, they didn't really want to have kids of their own, and that they were just giving into the social pressures of, well, I got to get married at this age and I'm supposed to have kids, even if they didn't really want to have kids. So now that there's grandchildren, they're like, well, I don't want to watch kids again. I already dealt with this, even when I want
see.
To. Yes.
So my parents didn't want to help because they didn't want to have me. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, they probably just thought like, oh, well, this is the thing to do. We're supposed to have kids, but did they really want it? I don't know.
I do think I was an accident.
Oh.
Because I'm 5.5 years apart from my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like 5 years later, she got pregnant. I don't think that's something that's planned.
Probably not planned, but I feel like they probably were still open to it because they wanted a girl.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think your parents were probably traumatized because the first kids that they had were twins. Like,
Right.
imagine being how young and trying to start your career and your life and your marriage, and then you have two kids to take care of at the same time.
I think my mom was like 24 or 25 when she had twins.
Yeah, that's young considering how old people are when they're having kids and
Yeah.
getting married now, right?
And moved from San Francisco to LA in a new area.
Yeah, away from all of her family.
Yeah.
And just to be with your dad, and
Yeah.
so I think maybe just having that experience and growing up in like hard times, right? They just didn't want to have to deal with it anymore. And my parents say it all the time. They're retired, but they're like, we took care of you guys. We did our time. Like, we worked so hard our entire life, and now that we're retired, we'd rather spend our time being carefree, doing what we want to do, going out, going
That's
on
another
trips.
thing.
Yeah.
So like, when our friends say, oh, my parents are going to retire and help out with our kids, your parents retired and started traveling. And
Yeah,
like, we're like,
because they
peace,
couldn't.
we're out.
I get it though, because they really couldn't. We had a water store, for a really long time. Like, how long was it? Maybe
30 years or so.
a long time,
Yeah.
right? So they spent most of their youth working there, and it's not a 9 to 5 job. They're working every day, all day, every day, from like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Right? So now that they were finally able to sell the store and not be there anymore, like, why are they going to be like, oh, well, I guess we'll just stay home and help watch the kids? They just wanted to go and travel because they never could.
Yeah.
And my parents are traveling more than we are now, So.
Yeah. So like right now, Leia's 6, Enzo's 4. And anytime we call our parents, like, hey, can you help watch the kids? They will now.
Yes.
They definitely will. But a lot of times when you ask, they're like, oh, we're going to Japan. We're going to a cruise.
I get
we're
it.
going to. I'm like, damn, dude.
So they're living the life that it's actually reversed. They're living the life that we got to pre-kids, and now they're living it.
Yeah.
Now that we have kids, so
But
it's,
now my mom helps out the most. I'm like, hey, mom,
Yes.
can you help watch the kids while we have to work? Like, we got to go from Vegas to LA for the weekend. I'm like, we're going because we got to work. And I'm like, hey, we can't bring the kids with us for these few hours. Can you watch them? She loves to do it now.
Yeah.
Like, she will counsel her plans to go to babysit and stuff. At what point are you okay with the kids sleeping over at our parents' house?
I think we've only done that one time.
No.
Yeah. Didn't we let them sleep at my parents' house once? I feel like we did. And that was even hard for us. I feel like you blocked it out.
Oh, I remember. So yes, that was one time and it was recent. We left the kids at your parents' house and
we had a work event, right?
A work event we're out till like 2 a.m.
Yes.
And after the event, we're driving back and we're like, should we drive back to go to sleep at my parents' house? Or should we drive back to your parents' house where the kids are? And we're like, dang, should we go grab all of our luggage and just go back?
Like, go back to your parents to get our stuff to go back to my parents.
So we didn't even want to leave the kids because we love them so much.
Yeah, and we
missed them.
We weren't used to it. And even then, like, how old are they, right?
Yeah.
And we finally were able to be like, okay, we'll leave the kids there. And it wasn't even our idea. It was because my mom was like, you could just leave them here. It's fine. Like, they'll be okay.
I don't know how they would be in the morning, when they wake up and
oh, they're fine.
Yeah.
They don't care. Like,
you mean the kids don't care?
yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, that's true.
But then for us as parents, we're just like, oh man, how are the kids going to be? Are they going to have their milk? Are they going to eat their food? Are my parents going to be giving them candy? Yes.
They're going to get candy. They're not going to get their milk the way they should get their milk. They will get a lot of food. So it's like, I'm fine with the sacrifices of what happens if the parents take over for the entire day, but I don't want to sacrifice their well-being in terms of like every time they go to your parents' house, they get sick. Because they go outside and play in like tank top and shorts, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
man, it's so windy right now. Where's the at least a t-shirt?
Yeah,
Like,
and that's
you know?
one thing that I'm always like telling my parents too, because at their age, like my mom gets menopause, she gets hot flashes, like she's just always hot, right? And then when we get there, I'm like, why are the windows wide open? Why is the sliding door open? It's so cold for the kids right now.
The craziest thing is like the dinner table is in front of the sliding door, which is
Right.
wide open, and it's like dark outside. It's cold and windy, and
And they'll have fans running too.
the fans are running,
It's just blowing,
and
I'm
so
like, what is going on?
the kids can be on the side where the wind isn't blowing,
Yeah.
but they're literally right in front of the big ass sliding door.
Yep.
And all the wind is just blowing at the kid. I'm like, damn, she's sneezing right now. She's got a runny nose. Like, she's cold.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, she didn't say anything. And I'm like, bro.
Or they'll be like, oh, but they said they're hot and that they wanted to take off their sweater. And I'm like,
yeah, are you the adult or is she the adult, dude? Like, come on.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't like the kids being with the grandparents too long, because the worst part is when they get sick and they come back with us.
and then we have to take care of them and deal with that.
for like the next 2 weeks,
Right.
Because when one kid gets sick for the next 3 or 5 days, then after that, the other kid catches it for 3 or 5 days. Now that's 2 weeks in of sickness. And then now we catch it. And we're like,
True.
damn, dude, all that just because we want to go out for one day.
Yeah,
It's
so-
not worth it,
Yeah, so it really depends. Do you want to have that balance and sacrifice how you want the kids to be throughout the day, or do you take that and accept it and go enjoy your free time? And I think it's like trying to find that balance. And I used to get so stressed out when I would see stuff like that, but after a while I'm like, it is what it is. We need time to ourselves also, and it's kind of nice to be able to go out, even though while we're out we're like, oh, I miss the kids. And it's gotten better though.
I think until the kids are old enough to not get sick all the time,
Yeah.
then I'm okay with it.
Right.
So it's not like I'm not grateful that our parents don't take care of them or want to. I love it, right? I love that they want to and they can. I'm very grateful for that. In the time that we get together alone, I'm just like worried for the kids. That's all.
And I think that's how it's always going to be though. Like we're always going to worry, because even if my parents are with the kids and they could be wanting to take them to the park or taking them to the market.
And I love that.
Yeah, it's great. But there's also like that parent anxiety of, oh, make sure they're strapped in carefully, make sure their seatbelts are on, make sure the car seat is installed correctly, make sure no one takes them, don't let them out of your sight. It's all these things that you have to worry about, but at the same time, you just
I know
have to trust them.
Yeah, your parents would like leave the kids in the backyard and then go in the house and like not even see what they're doing for like an hour.
Well, one parent would stay out. It most likely be my dad, and then they'll probably go in and out and stuff, doing stuff. But
yeah,
and that's how it was back in the days. Like people weren't as strict with their kids. Like kids were going out and doing their own things, like with parties. Parents would be dropping off their kids to people's houses for them to have a party and not stay there.
But that's not a 4-year-old and 6-year-old thing. That's more like between 8 and 12 or 8 and 15. When the kid can take care of themselves. If I can cook rice or boil an egg, then I'm ready to go to these things by myself.
I think I recently saw a post about this, and then people were commenting. They're from like the UK and other countries, and they're like, I don't get this whole parents going to birthday parties and then staying the whole time and watching the kids, because where they're from, they're just dropping the kids off and they're just picking them up after.
Well, there's different reasons now. Now it's not even like, can the kid take care of themselves or not? It's more of like, is someone going to molest my kid?
See,
that's what it is.
And our parents didn't have to worry about that stuff growing up. It wasn't, so I mean, parents probably did have to, but it wasn't that scary as it is now.
It wasn't as scary because that type of information wasn't out in the world where everyone was trying to be a pedophile, right?
Yeah.
But it was happening. It just wasn't always on the news.
And if it happened to kids, they wouldn't talk about it, or they probably wouldn't tell their parents.
And or if the parents knew, they wouldn't tell their friends. No, it was hush hush.
It was hush hush, yeah.
But now they'd be like, that dude tried to, undress my child and stuff like that. So it's like, hey, even though they go to the friendliest and nicest people, parties, I don't know them.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to let my kid out of their sight. And even if I train my kids to be like, make sure that this guy doesn't ask you for anything, or this girl, like,
Right?
I don't
Grown-ups should
know.
not have any secrets. If you don't know anyone, don't talk to them. Don't go anywhere with them.
Right.
Don't go off on your own, And those are things that you aren't able to control if you're not there. So
Remember when the kids first went to school? I was like, every morning when I dropped off Enzo, I was like, okay, Enzo, your teachers don't, if they give you candy, say no candy. If they tell you go to the bathroom, you tell them to wait outside.
yep, you go on your own.
You do everything by yourself. And then when
Right.
we pick him up, we're like, hey, did you use the bathroom today? He's like, yes. Where was your teacher? They're like, outside. Did they open the door? Stuff like that. Did they help you put your pants down, pull it up? He's like, nope. So it's like, we gotta go through these things now. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's crazy because now you understand why a lot of these schools and with the little kids that usually the teachers are female, right? Because mothers and
But that
women are
doesn't
more
mean that.
nurturing. But because there's chances of males being teachers and just things happening, and I don't know. It's just
Yeah, it's
it's
wild,
a crazy
man.
thing.
But back to grandparents babysitting and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm blessed to have both of our parents help
Yeah.
when we actually really need it. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's fine.
And that's because they're busy.
And at the same time, like, we try not to put the responsibility on our parents.
Mhm.
Like, these are our kids. We're
Yep.
still responsible for them. It's just sometimes you need a break or you want one, and you try to ask, and and that's it.
Yeah.
So I take full responsibility of our kids, and
Of
I
course.
love taking care of them and being with them.
Yeah, and that's one thing you have to consider when you're gonna have kids or you're thinking about it. You have to have this conversation with your parents to see
Yeah.
what the plan is gonna be and to have realistic expectations, because you should never put that pressure or expect your parents to watch the kids.
Yeah, that's what it was like. Expecting your parents to. I never expected them. I just never expected so many no's. that was all.
True.
So-
yes.
But I'm getting very close to leaving them for a weekend and going somewhere with just you and me.
My parents offer all the time.
A whole weekend though.
Yeah, they
You
would
know,
do
like-
a weekend. They would say they would even watch them for a week.
Like, go travel somewhere.
They would do it and they would love it because the kids are old enough to be able to talk to them and communicate with
Would
them
you-
and play with them.
Would you feel like a bad parent if you left the kids at your parents' house for the weekend to go to Coachella?
No.
That
No.
Are you
if
sure?
I'm being honest, I will miss them, but
doesn't make you a
No.
bad parent though. Like, you're at Coachella, you're partying, you're drinking, and like, you're like,
dude, have you heard about those parents who are leaving their kids at home? They're like the same age as our kids. They're leaving them at home to fend for themselves while they're going on trips, like on
yeah, and they're dying.
And I'm like, that's crazy. Like,
yeah,
if we're gonna be doing stuff like that and going to go to a concert or a festival and enjoy our time, like, just because we have kids, it doesn't mean that we're not entitled or allowed to have fun like this. And we're being responsible. We're gonna pack everything that our parents need. We're gonna make it easy for them. We're gonna supply them with everything. We're gonna make sure that they're okay. And we're being responsible. So why would I feel guilty?
I agree with some of that. So when you said entitled, I don't think that's a correct word, because
That's why I said allowed.
Yes,
I
allowed-
corrected entitled to allowed.
yes, we are allowed to have fun.
Yes.
Are we entitled to? No,
No.
because we have
No.
kids to be responsible for.
You like how
okay?
I corrected myself right after I said it?
Yeah, it's way different. But yeah, we are
It's
allowed
balance.
to,
Yeah.
as long as we are responsible of finding people to be responsible for the kids.
Yeah, and it's as long as I don't feel like we're pressuring our parents to watch them, and they want to, and my parents offer that all the time. They're like, if you want to go anywhere, just leave the kids. And
Yeah, I don't trust it yet because they still get sick for like being there for 6 hours.
yeah, but now while it's getting warmer, we're gonna have to just plan it out where it's in a warmer climate where there are less chances of them getting sick.
I know. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We've learned. So we're adapting as parents. Our parents are adapting as grandparents. And I think it's just trying to figure out that balance and not be as strict, be a little bit more carefree and trusting our parents to be able to take care of the kids and that they're going to survive the weekend with them.
They will survive, but I just don't trust their tactics, Like, we don't need our kids to be half naked with a big fan right in front of their face blowing, with the windows wide
And
open.
that's what I'm saying. There's that difference with them being at the age that they are, being at a retirement age. I can see the difference from their youthful years to their older years. And a lot of things that were common sense to them are not common anymore. And I've learned to just try to remind them here and there. Like if they left the windows open all the time where everyone can see inside, I'm like, hey, close the blinds. You don't want people to see what you guys are doing all the time. Have some privacy, right?
Yeah.
But before, they were always so strict about closing the windows and making sure no one could see in. So a lot of things change and you have to kind of adapt to it and remind them, but not in like a forceful way. It's like trying to be like, make it fun.
All the parents out there who are listening to this episode, I don't think we're the only ones like this, right? You guys are probably also like, damn, you know what? My parents are like this too. And that's why I don't bring them over as much as I want to.
And is it in different cultures now? Like, especially in the Hispanic culture? Because I know you guys have big families. You guys like living under the same roof. Like you'll have multiple families. And that's how we were too growing up. And is it still like that for you guys now? Or has it separated and your lives are like ours, right? I'm just so curious because I kind of grew up that way too. And now the dynamic is so different.
Yeah, I think everyone just wants to do their own thing.
Yeah.
And it gets more stressful when things change.
That's true. And I think it also depends on the grandparents because some grandparents just want to retire and have like a peaceful, quiet life. They don't want to travel. They just like to stay home. They're a homebody, right? That might be me. Who knows? Right? And they're like, sure, I would love to have the kids because I'm just going to be at home anyway. Like, why not have that company and enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know. If I was a grandparent, I might be like, yeah, I'll watch your kid all the time because I want to be the favorite grandparent. Because when I pass away, I want that kid to remember me.
Oh, wow. Is that it? Is that it? Not because you want to spend time with them?
I don't know. I'm just kidding.
So you'd be competing with me then. Well, hard to say. I don't know. I'm not going to make any claims right now because I don't know how I'm going to be like later on. We still have our whole lives ahead
when
of
Leia
us.
and Enzo have kids? Oh,
yeah, I don't want to say it and then they find this video and go back to it one day and say, hey, you remember this? Yeah, I don't know how it's going to be, but
thinking about our kids having kids
we have a long time to go. Oh, Leia just said this the other day, and she said this before, but she's just like, Mom, I still don't want to have kids.
Aww.
It's a lot of work. You guys have to do so much, and you guys work so hard and everything to take care of us. And I don't know if I want to do that.
I think we just have to tell her that what we're doing is normal and it's not a lot of work.
Yeah, no, I tell her
and
all the
that
time.
It's actually easy and that we love doing it and you will love doing it too, rather than like, okay, don't have kids then.
Yeah, I'm like when you're older, you'll understand and you'll know like how it's gonna be and what you want to do and just
we gotta teach her the love.
Yep.
Through it all.
But I think she sees it with the way that we are raising them, even though they see that we put so much work into things.
Yeah,
they will appreciate it, and I hope they do. Yeah,
I hope so too. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Love and Rice podcast, talking about grandparents and there's some venting going on here. But this was a pretty I don't know, man. You guys got to comment. Like, do your parents help you or not? I want to know how many of you have parents that help and how many of you have parents that don't help. And I'll put a poll on this if you're on Spotify, and you guys can vote on that as well. Okay. So make sure you guys, if you have not subscribed, please do. If you haven't rated us on Spotify, give us a good rating. If you don't want to give us a good rating, just don't vote on it or don't rate us. But we try hard for you guys and we love doing these podcasts.
And we hope you're enjoying the topics so far and that you're getting something out of it.
Yep. So if you guys don't remember which platforms we're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, iHeartRadio, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. So we'll catch you guys next time on the Love and Rice podcast. Peace.